Hello and welcome to a very special Tuesday edition of Squared Circle Radio Live right here on our YouTube channel. Thank you for being with us. That's the Young Buck Andy York. My name is Chris Belcher. Andy had some personal things going on yesterday. I was on vacation, but Andy, we're here on a Tuesday because so many matches got added to WrestleMania this week.
Yeah, we actually have a card now, which is really nice. So it's going to be nice to dive in and talk about them. No matter how thrown together they may feel in some ways, but we'll dive in and talk about them for sure.
We're going to talk about them for sure because some of it is thrown together. We'll get to that in a minute, but before we do, we got to do our weekly stop, Andy, at the main events of WrestleMania. So let's kick our show off with the way that Raw ended last night. The Tribal Chief Roman Reigns and CM Punk. Of course, we saw last week, we talked about this on last week's episode, how Roman got the best of CM Punk, left him laying. Punk was laughing. Tables have been turned this week. Roman was left laying through the announce table. Wasn't quite laughing. CM Punk was, though, Andy. So a role reversal of sorts at Madison Square Garden, which was a very pro Roman Reigns crowd. Did that surprise you at all?
Not really. I think it just kind of because they were pro Roman, but there was also a loud contingency of Punk fans there that were chanting CM Punk and were chanting "Do it again" or "One more time" and things like that. So that part didn't really surprise me that much.
It was interesting to me. Like Madison Square Garden has always been pro Roman, it seems like, but it seemed like there were some boos for Punk, but like you said, a lot of cheers as well, especially after the show when he gets up on the barricade and is kind of yelling at some of the fans as the show's going off the air.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily think we've talked about this ad nauseum that he's leaning into the heel side of Punk, but he's leaning more into what made him CM Punk, which I think is going to do wonders for him in this match, because we're starting to see the old tribal chief come out of Roman Reigns in a way. So you have to combat that if you're CM Punk, because if you let that version of Roman Reigns just dominate this, everybody's just going to fall in love with him all over again, and you're not going to stand a chance in the people's eyes.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. And I think I think Punk is just a gifted natural at turning a crowd whether into his favor or against him by just a couple of words. Like I think he's one of the few guys that can cut a promo as a babyface, cut a babyface kind of promo while he's a heel and the crowd's going to love him, but he can also kind of turn to the heel anytime he wants and get the crowd against him. And so I think that's going to be really important for him going into this match with Roman too. And I also just think it's that dynamic of, Roman has always been the guy. Like he's always been the guy that the company pushed. Punk's always been the guy that the company never got behind, but the fans always did. And I think that dynamic of it here is always going to be interesting of, Roman's the new, I know Cody, we like to talk about Cody being the new John Cena. Roman's really kind of the new Cena of being the face of the company, being the top guy, being, doing the press junkets and all this other stuff. And Punk's, the champion and not doing anything like that. And so I think that still plays a factor into this main event.
Yeah, he's certainly the underdog. Like it seems like since this match was announced that we've all said, well, Roman's going to win. He's going to get this title and he's going to hold it hostage. What's next for CM Punk? It's almost like 90% of wrestling has just written CM Punk off when this thing started, and that's the way he likes it. That's the way his whole career has been. That's the way his 430 plus day reign as WWE champion was. It was like he was champ, but he was getting written off and, this, that, and the other. So I guess it plays right into exactly where he wants it, which is going to make this match even more interesting. City Kitty is live with us in the chat. If you are live and you have questions, comments, drop them in the chat. Even if you're watching the replay, you can do that as well. We also just ask that you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. City Kitty, here's a question. Why is it called Madison Square Garden when it's round? Listen, she's trying to be smart and throw us off our game here. I don't know why it's called Square Garden and it's
New York. It's backwards. Everything in New York is backwards.
I guess.
They think they're the greatest thing in baseball, and the Yankees haven't won in forever. The Mets always suck. The Knicks are always horrible.
Yeah, when's the last time the Knicks won a championship? Good
The
grief.
Giants and the Jets are jokes. I mean, come on now. And you're
Yeah.
talking to two Titans fans, so like we're the jokes as well, but at least we know it.
That's a good point. That's for sure. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's a question that you should. I would say Siri. I'll say Siri real softly so that Siri doesn't pop up. Maybe that's a question for Chat GPT. There's the question.
There you go.
Yeah, hit up Chat GPT. Maybe they have a better answer than we do because I certainly don't have a clue. Andy, we saw in terms of Roman Reigns, we've seen the Usos get involved for a couple weeks in a row now. Nowhere to be found last night after they lost their tag team championships. I found that really odd that we didn't circle back to them at any point in time throughout the show, because I had in my notes that I even wrote down last week, as I'm often like to take notes on Tuesday and Wednesday as I'm digesting Raw, listening to Busted Open, listen to other people talk, and just kind of reevaluating what I may have missed on the Monday night show. But I thought that this tag team match was going to be a huge hinge point in this Roman story because of the version of Jey Uso that we got at the end of Raw last week, where he was calling Roman Joe and he was calling the shots, Crash Out Jay, as a lot of people like to call him. But then they lose, Andy, and we don't see or hear from them the rest of the night. I found that really odd.
Yeah, and I mean, again, this will come up in our, when we talk about Cody Randy too, is I don't know why we feel the need to put a celebrity in the middle of some of our biggest feuds that we've got going on right now. Like, I get relationships and stuff like that, but they feel so out of place. Jelly Roll and the Cody Randy stuff, and then I Show Speed here. Like, I get the connection between him and Logan and stuff and everything like that, but there was no need for any of that. Like, I think you could have easily had Division win those tag titles last night if you wanted them to, and had Jimmy be the reason, or have LA Knight be the reason, and then there's tension between the Usos and LA Knight, and maybe he finds a tag partner at WrestleMania, and we're doing him and Chris Jericho versus the Usos, or something like just something random. I don't know. It's a weird dynamic. I was shocked that they actually lost the tag titles. I was waiting for like Seth to come out or something to cost them. I don't know. Like, do we run this back at Mania? Do we do the Usos and the Vision again? Do we do a 6-man tag where it's LA Knight and the Usos versus the Vision with I Show Speed? Because
I think that's where we're headed.
That, I don't know. It is a weird booked Mania this year. And I don't know. I would much rather just have a regular tag match again for the titles than that 6-man tag.
Yeah. I don't know what I would rather have, honestly. I don't know, because we've only seen I Show Speed in a ring for a hot minute. He got killed. So
by the guy that's in the Vision.
Division, that's right. Injuries have happened at the worst time for the WWE this year, and I know that the injury bug always pops up around this time, but it seems like this year that it's hit the crucial ones way more than it normally does. So yeah, I'm not sure exactly what to make of the Usos thing. I'm not sure how the Usos and the rest of the Samoan family and the bloodline get involved in the Roman story at WrestleMania before or after. I'm not exactly sure. We know that Roman Reigns is not going to be on Monday Night Raw next week, and he will be on the Go Home show the following week. Andy, it's hard to believe we're just over 2 weeks out from WrestleMania, and like you said at the top of the show, we finally have a card 2 weeks ahead of WrestleMania. So we'll talk. Well, I'm sure we'll touch on Roman and Punk a little more next week, but definitely on the Go Home show. And then, of course, for our prediction show that will be in the middle of WrestleMania week, again, brand new episodes every single day during WrestleMania week. And if you're looking for our preview show, it will not be following Monday Night Raw on our regular show. It'll drop through the week. So make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you hit the notifications bell. Make sure you're locked into the channel so that you get each and everything that we have to offer for WrestleMania week. You mentioned Cody and Randy. Let's talk about the Viper and the American Nightmare. And it was a great quote from Cody Rhodes in his interview on Busted Open on Monday, so it was yesterday, he said, what it's going to take to beat Randy Orton is everything that he taught me. I don't know why that resonated so well with me, Andy, but I think you can take some of that from the surprise interaction that we had between Cody and Stephanie McMahon last night on Monday Night Raw. What were your thoughts on just that interaction and maybe how that quote plays into this?
Yeah, I mean, if anybody knows how dangerous bald-headed 0809 Randy Orton is, it's Stephanie. I mean,
No,
he tortured that poor woman for during that feud with him and Triple H. It was a weird interaction. It was not what I was expecting.
right.
It came out of left field, but it wasn't out of place. I think at the same time, like I think there's definitely history there and concern there and a story there. Um, Although the line that he hit her with that she got mad and slapped him at, I don't know. We can talk about that at a different time. Um, because yeah, but yeah, I thought it was a really I thought it was a really interesting way to do it. The only thing I hate is how it ended because I don't know. I get where Cody was going,
Mhm.
but for him to say, "I've got 2 words for you," and then the crowd obviously says what they're going to say, and then he says, "Thank you." He got there was some loud boos. There was people were like, "Are you really like that's what we're doing here?" It didn't end well, I think, for Cody, but the interaction itself I thought was very fascinating. They're dropping more. It seems like we're actually going to get a resolution to who Randy's been talking to.
Yep.
So I know we talked about it being his dad, but now it feels like it's been dragged out so long. It has to
Yep.
be somebody else.
Yep.
And so I think that that revelation could happen the go home show before Mania. It could even happen at Mania.
I think it can happen this Friday on SmackDown because you know where SmackDown is this Friday? The hometown of Randy Orton in St. Louis, Missouri. So I think there's a real good shot that it gets resolved this week, or at least we get some really it starts to become more clear. Maybe it's
Yeah,
not exactly resolved, but the interaction with Stephanie, you sort of alluded to it, like it makes you think, man, was that Vince McMahon that he was talking to? You know, is that Shane McMahon that he's talking to on the phone?
yeah,
Because at this point, we've talked about it being Cowboy Bob. And we joked last week that Ted DiBiase Jr. got out of his legal troubles and maybe it's him. Andy, I know that those make the most sense to wrestling fans. But you just said, as much as they're building this up and dragging this out, it has to be bigger than that. It has to be something that people are going to recognize because Andy, I give it 25 to 30% of the crowd would react to Ted DiBiase Jr. And I only jumped to 50% for Cowboy Bob because it'd be in St. Louis this week.
yeah,
That's it. That's not going to be a big ooh and ah and pop if that were
yeah,
to be who this is revealed as.
yeah. And so the question becomes, who is it? Like
Yeah,
we talked about it being Flair, but even then, like I don't think Flair would fit in this category.
that's
Um,
who I lean towards though, just for the
it
shot
is,
on the pop value.
yeah. Um, I mean, maybe it's like you know Arn Anderson again. We talked about,
Yep.
I don't know. The one that would surprise me if it was like a Dustin, which I know they can't do. Like, there's probably no way they can do Dustin or somebody like that. That is just extremely close to Cody. But also knows what Randy has to do.
Yeah. City Kitty, I see your comment. I'm going to get to that in just a second because that is a point of discussion for sure. Batista, maybe.
Maybe.
Um,
Not Triple H.
I was getting ready to say, what if it's Triple H? And here's why I say that. Here's why I say that. They pointed this out on Busted Open today, and it makes a lot of sense. We saw Triple H come out on Monday Night Raw to separate Oba and Brock, which we'll talk about Oba and Brock next week because That stuff is wild and it's awesome. But we saw Triple H there. We did not see him, Andy, when Cody physically put his hands on Stephanie McMahon and spun her around.
Yeah.
Like they made this on, they put this on Busted Open today. Like Bully posed this to Dave, and I'll pose it to you. Andy, you and I are great friends. We've known each other for 12, 13 years, whatever it's been. But if I'm having a conversation with your wife and I turn her around like that, it don't matter how good of friends that you and I are.
Yeah.
You're gonna step in and be like, bro, what's your problem? You know, that makes logical sense. So in that perspective, why didn't Triple H come out, bow up to Cody? Hey, what's your problem? Especially when he showed up later in the night. So that's my only hesitation with it possibly being Triple H behind this phone situation.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, and it's Triple H, so we know he loves the spotlight. So it wouldn't shock me if he did it. It feels weird to put. If it was like Adam Pearce or something like that, I get it more because it's a general manager role. But to be like actively on TV, known as the booker of the show,
yes,
it doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Correct.
And I don't think it.
Correct.
I think it adds more conflict in a bad way than helping the story go along. Even more so. So I personally would probably rule out Triple H more than anybody.
Yeah.
Another one, and again, like this is way out there, and I don't know if it, but it's talk about possibilities. What if he was talking to Bo Dallas about hearing the voices in his head and doing everything? I mean, he was sinister with the Wyatts, and he was sinister with Bray, and that whole thing with the Fiend and everything. It's like, what if that's kind of tied back in somehow?
That would be really interesting. I have not heard that theory floating around anywhere. That actually would make sense. You just have to connect the pieces together and make it make sense because it's more related to Randy than it is to Cody. Because we're all sitting here thinking, oh, it's related to Cody. It's related to Cody. No, it could be more related to Randy than anything.
Yeah.
City Kitty in the chat. We could get a Brandy appearance. I think we need a Brandy appearance at some point. To help this whole thing. I want to bring her comment back up here, though. She thinks it's the voices in Randy's head on his phone. Now, a lot of people have floated that around. That is a plausible, very likely scenario. But Andy, just like you mentioned a few minutes ago, maybe it's us wrestling fans taking this thing to the nth degree and putting the expectations on it that we shouldn't put on it. There's a good chance that that's what this is, Andy.
Yeah.
But if in fact we get a big payoff for this phone call because it's coming up more and more and more, I feel like it has to be more than just his own voices. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, and I think it could be something to where, and again, this could be going back to his dad or to Flair or somebody, but the voices in his head could be the voice of that person that he was on the phone with.
Sure.
So like it could be somebody just putting this idea into his head. The one we haven't talked about, and I'm so sorry, City Kitty, to be the one to bring this up too, because I'm right there with you. The Rock is always a possibility.
Yep.
I mean, he is always a possibility. Is it likely? Probably not, but it's a very big possibility that it happens. Another one that I don't know if they would be dumb enough to do it this way, because if they do it this way, then it's going to be horrible. But you still have all the stuff with Travis Scott and Cody. So like he could be the one pulling the strings or whatever behind the scenes. So I think when you have expectations like this, and again, I think this is something WWE has struggled with, is they don't put parameters around the expectations. Like they don't very clearly rule people out. They kind of keep it vague for everybody.
Sure.
Then you get the Danhausen situation where on the night it was very poorly received. Obviously, it's gotten so much better since then.
Yep.
WrestleMania 41. Oh, The Rock's coming and everything, and then we get that dud, and it's like, okay, what are we actually doing? I think if it's not somebody big, then they would have tampered expectations more than what they've done.
they've definitely put a spotlight on it for sure. And they're making it more and more and more. And whether they're reading the online chatter and they're just playing into the online chatter, and we'll see what happens after that. I don't know. But Andy, I know that you don't like the Rock scenario. I think it makes perfect sense for it to be the Rock, because all you have to do is you have Cody somehow beat Randy at WrestleMania. I don't know how, but he does. And then Rock shows up. Rock and Randy beat him down. And then Rock challenges Cody for the title at Saudi Mania next year. And that way he can go to Roman and he can say, look, this is exactly how we wanted it. You beat CM Punk for the title. I'm going to take care of this Cody Rhodes problem that you and I have. This was the way to do it. John was weak. John couldn't get it done. So here's Randy. Now Randy couldn't get it done. Okay, I got to step in. I'm going to get it done. And we booked that a year in advance. It makes sense if you're going for star power. But Andy, I think this story with Cody and Randy, Rock coming in totally overshadows it. And no matter how you feel about the Rock still in the spotlight or what have you, logic will tell you this story is good enough that it doesn't need the Rock.
Yeah, I completely agree. Unless they have locked down long-term plans that everybody's going to be where they said they were going to be, then I think it's fine. Like, I think it's fine to overshadow the feud for this moment, because again, like the scenario you brought up, I think it begs the question of, if Rock gets involved, should that be the main event of night 2 rather than Roman and Punk? Because I think there's a real discussion to have there. But let's say it goes on night 1 and Rock costs Randy the title, and then obviously or costs Cody the title. Randy's the champion. You obviously know he's there that night. What if the match happens between Punk and Roman? The ref goes down because we know ref bumps happening in a Roman match. The Usos come out, The Rock comes out, and they turn on Roman. The Usos join and align with The Rock, and then they're there to be his mouthpiece for the year, heading into, you can do Rock Cody at SummerSlam, you can do Rock Roman at WrestleMania 42, and that way you're putting an end to this speculation, into the story, because we have to have an end of this at some point. Like, we have to have Rock Cody, and we have to have Roman Rock at some point.
Yep. Which one, before we wrap up this discussion, because we're sitting on this a lot longer than I thought, but this is good stuff. Which is more important to have? Is it Rock Cody or is it Rock Roman? Which is more important?
I think it just depends on the story. Like, I really think it just depends on the story. I think if they're trying to put an end to the resolve of WrestleMania 40, it has to be Rock Cody. Like, I think that has to be it. But if we're telling this bloodline saga that we've been telling since the pandemic, I think the more important one is probably Rock Roman, just because it puts an end to all of that. If Cody beats The Rock, I think everybody's still thinking he still has to face Roman. Like, he still has to have that match with Roman. If Roman beats Rock before we get Rock Cody, I don't think people are clamoring for Rock Cody to happen anymore.
Yep, that's absolutely correct. All right, we'll have to see. Friday could be really big, man. Friday could be really big. I'm not saying Rock's going to show on Friday. I'm not saying anybody's on Friday. I'm just saying SmackDown is in the hometown of Randy Orton, St. Louis, Missouri. Randy could pull a fast one and not even be there and be at Cody's home in Atlanta, Georgia.
That would be awesome.
I mean,
that would be awesome.
Let's go. All right, let's talk about all these other matches that were added this week to the WrestleMania card. But before we do, we're going to take a pause for the cause and hear from the Reverend Tom Bryce and our incredible partners over at Sports Wire Radio.
Looking for all the latest happenings in the world of sports and wrestling? Well, you're in luck because Sports Wire Radio has you covered 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and 365 days a year. With great shows in the world of sports, such as the Pinstripe Chronicles, hosted by Uncle Tats, Donald Stewart, and Rob Barrows. New York Baseball Talk with Chris Bazaya and Rob Maraska. The Liftoff Jets, also hosted by Chris Bazaya and Sharman Phillip. Neil Villapiano and the Devil's State of Mind. Randy Dillon's Hockey Fan Chat. In the world of wrestling, Sports Wire Radio has you covered with Squared Circle Radio, featuring Chris Belcher, Andy York, and Jared Justice. Those sit-down marks with DB, Primo, AJ, and Michael. A work in progress, featuring the Mayor of Canton, Piles, and Glenn Abbott. You can catch all of these great shows and more anytime, anywhere, and any place via the Listen Live button on sportswireradio.org, and you can also catch Sports Wire Radio anytime on YouTube at Sports Wire Radio 6579 to catch all the latest happenings in the world of wrestling. Sports Wire Radio has you covered. It's all sports matters and all wrestling matters here on Sports Wire Radio. I am your host, the owner of Sports Wire Radio, the #1 global radio station, the owner of the Promo Wrestling Federation, and one of the owners of the Pride Wrestling Federation, your voice, figuratively and literally, where all wrestling matters, the Reverend Tom Bryce.
Thank you, Tom Bryce, for all of your support. And thank you. If you're listening on Sports Wire Radio, keep it locked in right here for all of that incredible content that you certainly do not want to miss. This is Squared Circle Radio. That's the Young Buck Andy York. My name is Chris Belcher. If this is your first time on our channel, hit that subscribe button for us. Smash that like button. It's a little thumbs up. Hit the notifications bell. That way you keep it locked in right here. You get notified each and every time we drop brand new videos, which we do each and every Monday after Raw, except for last night. I was on vacation. Personal things get in the way. But we're here on Tuesday night. On the road to WrestleMania, Andy, just a little over 2 weeks away. The card is taking shape. As Cody Rhodes says, it's a sleeper WrestleMania. Lots of great matches in ring. These suckers could deliver. Some of it's been thrown together a little bit. Some of it's pretty last minute. One that took me by surprise. We're going to go through a lot of these matches that got confirmed this week, kind of rapid fire, give a couple of thoughts, and then move right along. Andy, the United States Championship is on the line at WrestleMania, but Carmelo Hayes is not in the match because he dropped the title on Friday to Sami Zayn, and Sami Zayn is defending the title against Trick Williams at WrestleMania. Andy, first of all, before we try to make sense of this sucks for Carmelo Hayes. Like, what are we doing with Carmelo Hayes?
I mean, the last, between him and Ilya, they made that title the most interesting it's been in a long time, in a very long time.
You could tell they worked really hard to build Melo up, like really hard.
So I don't know. I think there's still a chance this becomes a triple threat or a fatal four-way with Ilya and with Carmelo.
Okay.
I don't know how you think, and I'm a Sami guy. I love Sami. I love Sami Zayn. I want to put that out there. I love Sami Zayn. I think he is an underrated wrestler. I think he is awesome. How can you look at that and go, Sami versus Trick is more interesting than Carmelo versus Trick, which was like the feud in NXT a couple years ago?
Yep.
At WrestleMania. You know how much history and how much story you could do to make the U.S. title actually feel like a big deal at Mania between Carmelo and Trick.
Yep. 100%.
We just threw it away. We just threw it away. It's on my list of baffling decisions we've made over the last couple of weeks heading into WrestleMania.
Yeah, I don't get it. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that Sami Zayn is losing this title at WrestleMania to Trick Williams. Yeah. Like it's obvious. And I understand that Sami Zayn is a great guy to be able to put over Trick Williams. But wouldn't it have been better for this guy that you put so much stock in for the last 2 months or whatever it's been to then drop the title to a guy he has so much history with? Like, wouldn't that make more sense? Now, I will say this, and as you're running through that, this thought literally came into my head. So this is the platform to get it out. So I'm just going to get it out. You said there's a chance this becomes a triple threat. Do you think there's a chance? because the story has been Sammy doesn't have a spot. Sammy's desperate. What's Sammy going to do? Sammy doesn't have. Do you think there's a chance Melo gets this title back in the next 2 weeks and Sammy's out of this? Just makes Sammy that much more upset and without a spot?
Possibly. I mean, listen, after the Drew McIntyre thing, anything's possible. So I don't really know. I think there is a chance. I don't think it's going to happen. I think at this point, they would rather just throw Carmelo in the match than have him just drop the title back. Because again, like the question becomes, what do you do with Sammy at Mania then? Like, what does Sammy have a spot at Mania this year? So I don't know. It's a weird, really weird conundrum and a really weird spot. I thought we were honestly heading to like a Sami Zayn versus Malachi Black. Like I thought that was making the most sense more than Sammy just randomly winning the US title back.
It's definitely this tree branch storytelling on SmackDown because we saw Malachi Black interact with Matt Cardona and we've seen him, interact with Cody Rhodes. We haven't followed up with that yet.
He was in a feud with Randy before he turned heel.
And you've got the feud with Randy Orton. And then you've got, Sammy and Ilya and Sammy and Melo. And just it's pretty wild, honestly. I don't know. I was shocked that Sami Zayn won the US title. Just shocked. Because, like you said, you're a Sami Zayn guy. I'm not. But I completely understand him having a spot on WrestleMania. He main evented the thing 2 years ago. I get it. But when it comes down to it, I think The Miz said it best. I know that you're kind of up and down with The Miz, but I think Miz said it best. And I don't remember what interview this was that I read that he said this, but he said that fighting and getting a WrestleMania spot is harder than ever right now. And a lot of people would hear me say that and be like, no, there's 2 nights, there's 7 matches per night. Like they put everybody on the card. But the context that Miz gave was all of this young talent that's coming in that you cannot leave off the card. Like you can't. So you got a guy like The Miz who's been in the game for 20 something years, who there's a good chance he's not going to have a WrestleMania match because a guy like Trick Williams or a guy like Carmelo Hayes or a guy like a Jacob Fatu, for example, or whatever, they have to have a spot. Like those are the guys that are just wowing the audience and this, that, and the other. So that's what Miz is saying. It's like, look, 20 years in the game, and I'm probably going to get left out because of these new guys coming in here. So I kind of lump Sami Zayn into that same category, Andy. It's like you would think he'd have a spot, but it would make a ton of sense if he doesn't.
I mean, look at it. As of right now, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. Like Tiffany Stratton didn't have a match at Mania.
No, she doesn't.
And she won the title last year. So like,
she was the champ walking in last year.
Yeah, she was the champ walking in last year. So and beat Charlotte of all people. So again, like it's a weird thing of Sammy main event at WrestleMania 39. He beat Gunther for the IC title at WrestleMania 40, which a lot of people thought that should have been Chad Gable instead of him. So there was some pushback there.
Yep.
Not on the card on 41. And then kind of does the same thing again they did at WrestleMania 40 at WrestleMania this year. So I don't know. It's just a weird. Sammy's one of those guys that it feels like he should be in the main event spot, or he should be a guy that's like, oh, no brainer, he has a match at Mania. But then you look at everything and you're like, the only way I can see him having a spot is if Kevin Owens randomly shows up, and I don't think he's showing up anytime soon. So it's a really weird dynamic with him.
I'll be interested to see what they do over the next couple weeks, because bottom line is, man, I hate this for Carmelo Hayes. Like, that dude deserves a spot on the WrestleMania card, and it seems like now that he's not going to get it. He could get thrown into the Intercontinental Championship ladder match, I guess, because Penta is defending against JD McDonough, Javon Evans, Rusev, and Dragon Lee in a ladder match. Now, Andy, I don't know if you heard this on commentary the other night or last night on Raw, but apparently This field was determined by qualifying matches on main event.
Yeah, and apparently that's not the entire field.
That's what I was getting ready to say. Number one, that wasn't advertised that these were qualifying, but that would have been a great promotional tool for your show. Hey, we're going to have this match at WrestleMania. These guys have been qualified. Like, promote that. And then number two, the way that Michael Cole and Corey Graves said it, it seems like the field's not done. So maybe I don't know. I don't know.
I would be shocked if Rey Fenix does not end up in this match.
Right.
At some point. I don't know. Like I don't know how many guys if they're adding like 8, I could see them adding 8 guys in. I'm excited. All I know is I heard Penta and I heard ladder match and I heard IC title and I went, yep, I'm in match of the night, like match of the weekend, probably right there.
And then they put icing on the cake with Javon Evans.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because like here's the thing, you got your powerhouse in Rusev that's going to do some numbing stuff with the ladder and hurt people. And then you're going to have Javon Evans flipping off of everything.
Yep.
You're going to have JD selling like he's a madman. Dragon Lee is going to do something impressive. And then you just got Penta hitting Canadian destroyers through ladders all day. So I am all for that.
Yep. Yeah. I think there's a chance if we're adding people, Vikingo could get added since Penta is going to face him. Yes. When is that? Is that this weekend or
this weekend? I think
it's either this weekend or next week. I can't remember which one. But anyway,
Vikingo would be awesome.
Penta is defending the Intercontinental Championship at a AAA show against Vikingo. So I think, I'm not saying Vikingo is going to beat him for the title and then automatically get in the match, but I think there's a chance that Vikingo could get in because of that match.
Yeah.
All right. City Kitty, go ahead.
Well, Vikingo, you put Vikingo and Penta and with the ladders, and it's going to be wild. I mean, and if you add Rey Fenix, you added Javon Evans. I mean,
heck, even added Carmelo Hayes. We just talked about him.
Yeah, and listen, just bring Jeff Hardy from TNA, and we are set. Like we're absolutely set.
City Kitty in the chat. Thanks for clarifying. Didn't catch how they were selected for the match. Yeah, it was really strange.
I don't think they knew how they selected for it.
I don't think they knew how they selected it either, if I'm being honest. Well, Andy, you said that this Intercontinental Championship ladder match is match of the weekend for you. There's a match that in my notes, I literally wrote, good luck following this one. It's the one that was made official on Friday. Drew McIntyre and Jacob Fatu finally made official, and it's unsanctioned. Good luck. Whoever's got to follow that one, good luck.
Yeah, I don't know where you put a match like that on the card.
I know.
Because you can't put it right, like, if you put it right before the main event, then the main event is just going to suffer for it. No matter what you do, you could have Stone Cold come back and the main event's still going to kind of suffer because of what we're going to see. If you start the show off, everything after is going to be like, it was good, but it wasn't, it wasn't like that. When I said a couple weeks ago, when I went on my rant about this feud a couple weeks ago, I stand by what I said, but they have done well with it. Because that parking lot brawl that those two dudes went on was wild. Mm-hmm. Everything that has happened since then, where they want to get at each other, they have turned it into something that it shouldn't have been, which is fine. Like it's turned into an interesting story and an interesting match that's going to happen now, and it's going to be awesome. Like I think we're going to see a side of Drew we haven't seen since his feud with Punk. And I'm pretty sure we're going to see a side of Jacob we've never seen before on WWE TV, which is going to be amazing.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I'm right there with you. I still think, we just talked about a ladder match that's going to be filled with the best high flyers in the game. And we're talking about Punk and Roman and Cody and Randy and, this, that, and the other. I think Drew and Jacob is going to be the match of the weekend. I do. I'll go ahead and say it right now. I think those two guys are going to beat the absolute snot out of each other because you talk about two dudes that have something to prove on the grandest stage of them all. Like, if they get more than 12 minutes, look out. just look out. They
Yeah.
will steal the show. If they don't get more than 12 minutes, that's going to be the hardest hitting, fastest 12
Oh my
minutes
gosh.
that you have ever seen in your life.
If they come out with weapons in their hands, just know it's getting real quick. Like, that's always the tell for me, is if we're going into a street fight or something, and either one of two things happens. Either a guy walks out with a weapon or a shopping cart full of weapons. We're getting real quick. If a guy comes out in blue jeans, it's on. Like, it as soon as he gets in the ring, it's on. So I am very excited for that one.
Oh my goodness. Well, we have talked a lot over the last couple of weeks about the two lefts don't make it right, but three do booking that we've gotten with Cody and Randy and with Drew and Jacob and this Trick Williams and Sami Zayn situation. And we've also talked about the injury bug and how it has really plagued WWE for the last several months. But those two things combined gave us Gunther versus Seth Rollins for WrestleMania. Now, Andy, listen, there is nothing more thrown together than this match we're about to talk about 2 weeks out of WrestleMania. It is very clearly, I'm going to spell this out for everybody listening. It is very clearly two guys that you can't leave off the card. You just absolutely cannot. Those two guys are healthy. They got to be there. The problem is both of the top two selections as their opponents are hurt. One of these guys has also been hurt for the last 4 to 5 months or whatever it's been. Andy, when the bell rings, this is going to be awesome. But you've got to tell me why this is happening over the next 2 weeks, because up until then, I don't know.
Why is Gunther saving Paul Heyman? Is my first. Well, there could be a reason why.
There could be a reason. Yep, go ahead.
Because the reason could be, if he saves Paul and he beats Seth, then he can say, "I want Brock at SummerSlam."
Yep.
And you can make that a possibility of, "I want Brock at SummerSlam." That's going to happen. My thing is, this felt like, okay, we're doing Brock and Gunther at WrestleMania. Yeah, Gunther's retiring people. I don't think we want Gunther to lose yet. We don't want Brock to really lose right now. So we're not going to do Brock Gunther. We're going to do Brock Seth at WrestleMania. Oh, the fans really like Oba. We're going to do Brock Oba at Mania, and we'll just put these two guys together. Like, that is what this has felt like. The story is not going to be good, probably. Like, we've got less than 2 weeks kind of to build this thing now. Story's not going to be great. It's not going to be industry moving. At the end of the day, the bell's going to ring, and this could be a match that we're talking about. Yeah. This could be a 5-star match that we're talking about for years to come. Yep. Because Gunther has a track record at Mania. Like, he had a dud last year with Jey Uso.
Yep.
Not his fault. He had a banger of a match he had a banger of a match with Sami Zayn at 40. And then he had probably the best, if not one of the best, triple threat matches at WrestleMania in history between him, Sheamus, and Drew McIntyre.
Yep.
So he's got a great history. Seth Rollins, we know what Seth is capable of.
Yep.
One of the best of this generation. And so I think the match is going to be great. The match is going to be awesome. The feud literally feels like we just hit random on WWE 2K and we got these two guys. And we're like, oh, that'd be fun. Let's do that.
City Kitty in the chat. Where did this feud come from? That's where it came from. We hit random on WWE 2K26, and this is what happened. In all seriousness, I don't know. I think there's a really good chance. I mean, we're going to have to pay attention to the story they tell during the match and after, because that's really going to help sell this for all of us. Because like you said, either Gunther could wager this match with Paul so that he gets Brock. I also think you could align, even temporarily, Gunther with Paul, because Gunther saved him, from Seth and this, that, and the other. And then you have Brock get jealous and you lead to the match that way. Either way, if this doesn't lead to Gunther and Brock, then there's an issue. There's an issue. If you, that's an easy one. That at least helps us sort of tie up some loose ends. But this is just very clearly, you got to get these two guys on the card. You just have to have these guys on the card.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see. Two other matches that were made official. We don't have to, park on this for very long. Finn Balor versus Dominic Mysterio is made official for WrestleMania. Neither of these guys were on the show on Monday night. Then you also have the women's tag team title, Fatal 4-Way, that you've been clamoring for. You've been calling it, Andy. Well,
you can have a ladder match one night and a TLC match the next.
Look at the participants and then think about your answer there. Lash and Nia defending the titles against the Bellas, Bailey and Lyra, and Charlotte and Alexa. That is made official. Fatal 4-Way for the women's tag team championship. So, talk more about those matches in the coming weeks. But Andy, as we wrap up this show tonight, we appreciate you guys being tuned in live with us. Even if you're tuned into the replay, make sure that you drop your comments and questions and subscribe to the channel. The whole 9 yards. We are so close to 400 subscribers. We would love to get that over the next 2 weeks as we head to WrestleMania. So I know that doesn't sound like a lot to a lot of people, but it means the world to us. So please hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Andy, as we wrap up this show tonight, we have to bring back this weekly segment that we have been talking about over the last couple of weeks. The biggest WrestleMania what ifs. A couple of weeks ago, we talked about CM Punk leaving in 2014. We've also talked about Stone Cold Steve Austin turning heel in 2001. And then last week, we talked about what if Sting would have beaten Triple H at WrestleMania 31. All three of those individual video clips are available in our archive. So go check it out. Make sure that you check those out. Leave your comments and what you think of those what ifs. That would mean the world to us as well. But tonight, let's talk about arguably the greatest WrestleMania performer of all time. And no, I'm not talking about the actual Mr. WrestleMania, Shawn Michaels. I'm talking about The Undertaker. His 21-0 winning streak came to an end at WrestleMania 30 against Brock Lesnar. But Andy, the biggest what if for tonight's episode is what if The Undertaker's streak had come to an end sooner? Or what if it hadn't been Brock Lesnar who ended his streak? When I pose those questions to you, what comes to mind as maybe when it should have happened? Who it should have been? Is it somebody he faced or he didn't face? Was Brock the right guy? Just the whole fantasy booking of the streak, if you will.
So I don't think Brock was the right guy.
Okay.
I don't hate the Brock decision as much as a lot of other people do because I kind of get it.
Yep.
But if anybody doesn't need it at that time period in their career, it was Brock Lesnar. 4 names come to my mind. Okay. 3 of them he faced before this happened. 1 of them he faced after. I think Randy Orton in their match is a real option because that's like the first Mania match where the streak became the streak. They talked about it, they referenced it, everything like that. But if you're not going to give it to Randy, I think Edge was an option, and apparently they were going to have him win, and he said, nope, I'm not going to be the one to beat him. And then the other 2, you can call me biased, whatever. Punk, after his long run with the world title, giving him that at WrestleMania, you're not going to give him the main event and Brock Cena. What's the next best thing? Not just being in a match with Taker, but being the one to beat him. I think would have really elevated his career, and I think probably would have kept him around going into WrestleMania 30 and beyond. But the one I probably would have done that makes the most sense is at WrestleMania 31, or even doing it at WrestleMania 30 still, and not doing the match that they had. Bray Wyatt being the new face of fear and the passing of the torch. I mean, could you imagine the elevation that the Wyatt family would have gotten if he was the one to beat Taker? Now, you can give Taker his win back at Survivor Series, like that match that they had that you can do. But I think Bray would have been an awesome option of a young guy who is starting in the career, who has a lot of similarities to Taker, and a character that, if we're honest, shouldn't really work in the world we live in today, but was captivating to everybody. Have him beat Taker, and then he becomes the real new face of fear moving forward, and has that he's able to use. I think Bray would have been an amazing option at WrestleMania 30 instead of Brock.
I think Bray is a great option. I really do. And I wasn't watching as closely as you were during Bray's huge run and when he debuted and, all this, that, and the other, the run that really built Bray Wyatt.
Yeah.
So, but I understand that makes a lot of sense. I would have probably, if it were Bray, I would have done it at WrestleMania 31 or 32, give him another year or two. I understand that he's probably never been as hot as he was at WrestleMania 30. So from a momentum perspective, I get it there, but I probably would have put a little more stock in him before doing it. I think the best choice is Randy Orton, but I wouldn't have done it in 2005.
Yeah.
I would have done it in 2009. Like that version of Randy, you build that, because I think that's the problem they're having with Gunther right now, is he's known as the career killer, but you got to get him in some normal matches so that we don't think that he's killing literally every person's career. Or if he doesn't kill someone's career, then we're disappointed and his nickname makes no sense.
Is Seth retiring soon?
Right. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah,
you can't do that. You can't have every feud be about the career. So I think same thing with Randy. You can't have every feud be about the legend. Well, maybe Taker beats him once, but then Randy comes back around in 08 or 09, whatever it is. I think that would have been the best choice to beat him. I'll give you one more. If we could have kept the streak intact long enough, I think it's hard for me to say the tribal chief version of Roman Reigns wouldn't have been a great guy to beat the Undertaker. Not the one we got at 33, the tribal chief version of Roman Reigns actually beating the Undertaker. Those are my three best options of guys that he faced. And I know I'm going to put you on the spot right here. Can you think of a guy or multiple guys that Undertaker did not face at a WrestleMania match that would have been good candidates to beat the Undertaker's streak? And bonus points if you can pinpoint a year in which it would have worked that this could have happened.
I mean, Jericho is always an option.
I like that.
And I don't really think there's a bad time to do it. I think you could have done probably anywhere between, when was his feud with Shawn?
08.
Anywhere between 08 and 2010, I think is probably like the sweet spot for Jericho.
Yep. Agreed.
To come in and to do that. I mean, if we're really fantasy booking here, we're really throwing things at the wall. WrestleMania 31 against the Icon Sting.
Yep.
That's a real possibility.
Yep.
Other than those two, like
Taker could get his win back at 32.
Yeah. And other than those two, like, I mean, if we're talking like modern day, if we were able to pick from there, I think Seth could have done it at some point.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you build him up the right way, I think an Aleister Black would be really compelling. I think Gunther is another guy that, if Taker had this long run and we were going through the career killer, well, the ultimate career to kill would have been Taker's. And another one we talked about, he wrestled him. I think Batista, Batista could have been one of them as well.
What about Drew McIntyre? That's an easy one.
Drew could have been one. I think Drew would have been a really, really good option. I'm just trying to rack my brain around like guys. Kevin Owens is another one. They're like the guy you don't think could do it, and then gets the big win.
Yep. There's not too many guys, honestly, that he didn't face at a WrestleMania that where the streak was a significant thing. Like you could say Austin or Rock or whatever, but those guys didn't need it, and we all knew that.
No.
Kurt Angle didn't need it, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean,
Mark Henry.
John Cena.
Yeah.
You could throw
Cena
that.
could have been interesting. I mean, if you do it the right way, maybe like a Daniel Bryan as a heel.
Yeah.
Like if we got the 2019 Daniel Bryan, I think he could have been a good option. Braun Strowman, maybe.
Yeah.
But I think that's more like a Giant Gonzalez thing than we want to really look at. We don't want to look too deep into that one. I don't know. Like there's guys that I think you could have done it with.
I think
there's only a handful of guys that deserved it or needed it. I think
an interesting story to tell, and nobody really goes down this rabbit hole. We don't have to spend too much time on this one either. But I think Kane would have been a really good option.
Yeah.
The story that they told, like, I know a lot of people are going to look at that and be like, Undertaker was far better than Kane. Why would you give Kane the win over the Undertaker? Those guys are best friends. And there's no better way to wrap up the story of the Undertaker's little brother coming back from the dead than the Undertaker's little brother putting him out to pasture, you know? That sort of begs the question for me, Andy, and we'll end this segment on this. We're fantasy booking the end of the streak. I ask you two questions here. Should the streak have ever ended? And if the streak did have to end at some point, which it did, should the Undertaker have wrestled past the end of the streak?
If this is a weird one. If I don't think the streak should have ended. I think the streak should have been Taker's thing forever.
Yep.
That's like a thing nobody is ever going to beat. Nobody's ever going to even come close to, you know, let's say he beats Brock and he wrestled at 31, he wrestled at 32 and 33 and 34. So that had made him 25-0.
Yep. And then again at 36.
So 26-0. He didn't wrestle, and he hadn't wrestled since.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think the streak should have ended. Yeah. I really don't. I think it's just such a fascinating thing because everybody talks about Goldberg's winning streak that was so fabricated, like absolutely fabricated. But with Taker, there's video proof of everything happening, and he would have been 26-0. I think the streak should have never ended.
Yep.
If we did have to have the streak end, it should have been the end of his career.
I agree.
It should have been like, this is the moment that it was going to happen. You know, not, lose the Brock, come back and have his get back and then retire against Roman and then not retire against Roman and then retire against AJ, but he never really said he retired against AJ. So, like, could he come back? Maybe. I don't know. I think
Hall of Fame speech, he said, never say never.
Exactly. I think if he was going to lose the streak, it should have been his last match.
Agreed.
I also think WrestleMania 30 would have been a fine time to put a bow in his career.
Agreed.
Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell a wrestler when to hang up their boots because if we look at guys like Edge and AJ and Cena, even Cena's retiring, and we're going, yeah, but you seem like you got a little bit more left in the tank. Like you can go a little bit more.
Yep.
But with Taker, like I think 30 was probably his last like great WrestleMania match
for sure. Yep.
Because he had a streak of them. I mean, he faced Randy, and then after Randy, he faced Mark Henry.
Yes, and then 23 was Batista.
So from Batista to Brock, I mean, he did not miss every single WrestleMania. Yep. He did not miss. I think 30 should have been the swan song for him.
Yep. I completely agree on both. I would say the streak should have never ended, but if it had to end, that should have been the absolute end of his career. And I understand him wanting to come back afterwards because you don't want to go out on a match that you don't remember because you got concussed and you don't remember anything about that day. You also shouldn't end the legendary streak of the greatest WrestleMania performer of all time on a whim decision a couple hours before the actual match.
Yep.
Because according to the Undertaker and Michelle McCool, the finish was changed hours before, not days before.
It's almost like turning a wrestler heel with no story to tell afterwards.
Well, they had
the biggest show of the year.
They had a story. People just didn't show up. City Kitty says Mayor Kane should have totally done it. I mean, yeah, for sure. Why not?
Listen, we need to have Kane versus Taker, and the winner is the mayor of Knox County.
For the mayorship.
Yeah.
I love it. All right. That's going to do it for another edition of Squared Circle Radio. Appreciate you guys being tuned in live with us, City Kitty in the chat and others. And if you want to leave comments, you can do that on the replay as well. We appreciate that. And like the video, subscribe to the channel, all those things. If you're just listening on podcast, make sure you hit that follow button. If you're listening on SportsWire Radio, we're about to wrap up, but there's going to be great content right behind us. And if you're so inclined to check out the SportsWire Radio YouTube channel, there's incredible interviews that Tom has done over there. He recently dropped one with John Karabi, the former lead singer of Motley Crue, for a short amount of time. And just a great guy in the music industry. Go check that out. There's wrestling interviews, whole 9 yards. So make sure that you support Tom in that way. I know he would appreciate it. Thank you so much to Tom. Thank you so much to all of our listeners. And Andy, thank you for being here. Another episode 2 weeks away, man, from WrestleMania.
It's getting closer and closer. I can't believe we're basically already here.
Yeah. We are right there. Again, we're going to drop episodes for you every single day during WrestleMania week. So keep it locked in right here on the Squared Circle Radio YouTube channel. For Mr. Andy York, my name is Chris Belcher. This has been another edition of Squared Circle Radio Live. We will catch you guys down the road.